Welcome everyone to today's professional development session on sentence complexity. Today we're going to explore how to help our students navigate complex syntax in informational texts. This is a critical skill for reading comprehension, and we have research-based strategies to share with you. This session is 45 minutes total, divided into 3 clear sections: get it, do it, and prove it. Each section is approximately 15 minutes. Here's a quick overview of where we're headed today. Get it will be 15 minutes. We'll start by defining sentence complexity and explaining why it's essential for reading comprehension. You'll see some familiar scenarios that illustrate the problem. In the Do It section, this is the heart of our session. You'll learn a targeted small group routine called Navigating Complex Syntax from the book Small Groups, Big Results. We'll actually practice the activities together so you can experience them firsthand. In the last Prove It section, we'll explore quick formative assessment tools you can use to monitor student progress and understand how to increase the rigor over time. Our key outcome is by the end, you'll have a research-based routine you can use immediately in your small groups to help students understand complex sentences. The session today is grounded in the work of Julie B. Lindsay's work from Small Groups, Big Results, and Nancy Lewis Hennessy's The Reading Comprehension Blueprint. The purpose of today's session is part 1 of a 3-part series in deepening language comprehension with complex informational texts. Let's begin with the Get It, understanding what sentence complexity is and why it matters so much for our students' reading comprehension. Does this sound familiar? These are real examples of how children struggle with complex syntax. For the first example, you say, "Before you turn in your paper, get out your red folder." The students then turn in the paper first, then gets the folder. Why? They missed the connective before, which signals the order of events. Now, what about this example? Miss West needs to go see the school secretaries. She is needed by them. But the student doesn't understand who Miss West needs. Why? The referential pronouns she and them are confusing. They're not tracking who refers to whom. Here's the key point. Even when students can fluently read every word and define every word, they may still struggle to understand the relationships between ideas in complex sentences. This is what we're addressing today. So, what exactly is sentence complexity? Syntax is the system for organizing words into meaningful phrases, clauses, and sentences. Think of it as the architecture for organizing ideas. Words carry that meaning, those are the semantics, but syntax provides the structure. So, what creates complexity? Well, there are several elements. I'm going to model these using a released 5th grade EOG passage. We have things like referential pronouns like he, she, it, they, them. Students easily lose track of who or what these refer to. There are things like connectives, like before, after, because, although, when. Students often miss the relationship between clauses. There are dependent clauses where multiple ideas are packed into one sentence. There is long distances between subject and predicate where students lose the connection. And there's a passive voice where the typical word order is reversed. These elements are everywhere in academics' texts, which is why it's so important. Why does sentence complexity matter so much for reading comprehension? Well, here's the key research finding. Understanding at the sentence level is just as important to reading comprehension as vocabulary is. Let that sink in. We spent a lot of time on vocabulary, and we should, but syntax is equally critical. So here are 3 important points. First off, syntax equals comprehension. Understanding each sentence and how it connects to the next is essential to understanding the whole text. Second, academic texts are challenging. They contain complex clauses, embedded phrases, high information density, and passive voice. Our students encounter these structures constantly. And number 3, even fluent readers struggle. Students can decode every word, define every word, and still have difficulty understanding relationships between ideas. But here's the good news. We have evidence-based practices. Research shows that practice in building sentences and taking them apart can improve both sentence writing and sentence comprehension. That's what we're learning today. Now let's move into the do it part. This is where we will learn and practice the routine together. This routine is called Navigating Complex Syntax, and it comes from the Small Groups Big Results, Routine 8.2.
It's very similar to the language dives we do in our instruction. It has the same goal of navigating and unpacking complex sentences.
The purpose of this is to support students in understanding complex syntax by combining and deconstructing sentences. It takes about 15 minutes in a small group setting. Some things that you'll need are short passages, reading passages related to your content area learning. I'm going to model today with an excerpt from Promises to Keep. 3 to 5 pairs of sentences from the passage that you'll practice building and taking apart. Highlighters, pens, or pencils for the students. The routine has 4 steps. The first one is to review. You'll introduce the passage by reviewing key vocabulary and background knowledge. You'll teach by modeling think aloud about complex syntax and referential pronouns. Then you'll practice. This is the heart of it. Students will practice both sentence combining and sentence deconstructing. And then they'll apply, where students read the full passage, pause at the complex sentences to break them apart, and discuss the meaning. The power is in step 3, the practice activities. Let's look at those now. Step 3 has 2 key activities, sentence combining and sentence deconstructing. In the sentence combining, students take simple sentences and they combine them, which means adding or eliminating connectives and pronouns. For example, the original sentences were, Owen sits on the couch, he snuggles his dog, he watches TV. Combined, they would be, Owen sits on the couch snuggling his dog and watching TV. Now, notice how we combine 3 choppy sentences into one smooth sentence using participle phrases. For sentence deconstructing, students take a complex sentence and break it into clauses. Each clause should have its own idea. They also highlight pronouns and replace them with the actual nouns. So, for example, a sentence could be, because they were far from the king and angry about taxation, the colonists began to govern themselves. We need to deconstruct this into 3 different ideas. The colonists began to govern themselves, because colonists were far from the king, and colonists were angry about taxation. Now you can see the 3 separate ideas clearly. After students practice these, ask follow-up questions like, whose dog is snuggling? Who was angry, or what and why? This reinforces understanding of the relationships. In a moment, we'll practice these together. But first, let's look at the prompts you can use. Here are some specific prompts you can use when students get stuck. If they don't understand the connection between sentences, you can say, how are these sentences connected? For example, the connective in contrast means the second sentence might tell the opposite information from the first. In the top right-hand corner, you'll see the connections between each one of the coordinating conjunctions that you can use to guide this work. If they don't understand a referential noun, say, let's go ahead and highlight the pronoun. Who or what is it? Now let's draw a line to the noun. This visual strategy is very powerful. If they can't combine a sentence, say something like, let's use the conjunction after to put these sentences together. Give them the connecting word they need. If they can't find clauses to take apart, say something like, each clause will tell a different idea. Does the sentence have more than one idea? Help them recognize there are multiple ideas packed in. Let's see the entire process in action. I chose an excerpt from Promises to Keep to model this routine. Remember, the goal is to help students understand complex sentence structures and relationships between ideas in informational text. Step 1 is review. It might sound something like this. Before we practice with sentences, let's review our text. This is a grade 5 biography excerpt from Promises to Keep about Jackie Robinson's family. Notice the text complexity. We have long, complex sentences with multiple clauses and pronoun references that we need to track. Let's activate our background knowledge. Who was Jackie Robinson? What athletic achievements do you know about? Today, we're reading about his father, who was an exceptional athlete. This biography structure means we'll track multiple people and events. Understanding sentence structure will help us comprehend this dense text. Step 2 is teach. You're going to tell the students that to understand this text, they will need to read some complex sentences. Start by teaching what a pronoun is. Say something like, a pronoun stands in for a noun, so we don't have to name the noun over and over again. And then you'll want to show some examples, like Jack Robinson was an athlete. He played 4 sports. Who does he refer to? Right, Jack Robinson. He is a pronoun that stands in for Jack Robinson's name. Common pronouns include he, she, it, they, them, her, his, her, their, who, which, and that. When we read, we need to stop to make sure we know what each pronoun refers to. Now, you're going to model your thinking aloud. It sounds something like this. Read this sentence with our text with me. At JPC, my father set a national junior college record in track by beating his brother Mac's broad jump record. Watch me think aloud. Say something like, wait, I just read this complex sentence. Let me stop and make sure I understand it. Where did this happen? Oh, at JPC, Pasadena Junior College. What did he do? He set a national record in track. How did he do it? By beating his brother Mac's broad jump record. I also need to check the pronouns his. Who does that refer to? My father. So is my father's brother Mac. This is the thinking you need to do when you read complex sentences. Now we come to step 3, the practice. You're going to model how to build sentences first, then have students try. Look at these 2 sentences. Go ahead and read them aloud. Dad attended Pasadena Junior College. He continued to build his sports legacy there. Choppy, right? Let's combine them using a participle phrase. Change he continued to continuing and add it to the first sentence with a comma. Read the combined version. Dad attended Pasadena Junior College, continuing to build his sports legacy there. Much smoother. Then you're going to want a follow-up question to check for the understanding. Who continued to build his legacy? That's right, Dad. This helps students understand the participle phrase refers back to the subject. Here's another example. You would read, Dad set a national junior college record in track. He beat his brother Mac's broad jump record. Choppy again. To combine, eliminate he and change beat to beating. Another participle phrase. Combined, it says, Dad set a national junior college record in track, beating his brother Mac's broad jump record. Follow up with your questioning. Who beat Mac's record? That's right, Dad. This reinforces that both actions are by the same subject. Notice how we eliminate connectives and pronouns to create smooth sentences. Let's do one last combining exercise. You would read, the Reverend Downs helps guide my father. He earned the respect of Dad and his friends. Who does he refer to? That's right, Reverend Downs. Good. Combine by changing he earned to earning. The Reverend Down helped guide my father, earning the respect of Dad and his friends. Go ahead and follow up with questions. Who earned their respect? That's right, Reverend Downs. These follow-up questions are crucial. They help students understand who performs the action in the participle phrase. Always ask these to reinforce relationships between clauses. Now, we're going to go to deconstructing, taking sentences apart. You're going to model this first, then support students. Here we go. Go ahead and read. After graduating from high school in 1937, Dad attended Pasadena Junior College, JPC, where he continued to build his sports legacy. That's packed. Let's break it into clauses. Each clause has its own idea. First, Dad graduated from high school in 1937. Second, Dad attended Pasadena Junior College. And third, Dad continued to build his sports legacy there. Notice we replaced he with Dad to be clear. Now you see 3 separate ideas. Ask those follow-up questions. Whose sport legacy? That's right, Dad's. This helps students process complex text. Let's go ahead and deconstruct another. Read. The summer before Dad attended UCLA was a tough one, as his mother moved into a smaller house, leaving the house at 121 Piper Street to her grown children. Dense. Break it down. First, the summer before Dad attended UCLA was tough. Second, Dad's mother moved into a smaller house. We replaced his with Dad's. Third, Dad's mother left the house at 121 Pepper Street to her grown children. We replaced her with Dad's mother. When we highlight pronouns and replace them with actual nouns, students track who is doing what. Here's another sentence. Go ahead and you practice now. Read the sentence aloud. Break it into clauses, highlighting pronouns and replacing them with actual nouns. What questions will you ask to follow up with students about relationships between ideas? And finally, our 4th step is apply. Now we read the passage we've been practicing with. You can read the passage aloud and have the children read in pairs or have them read quietly. What you want to do is prompt students to pause after complex sentences and say, wait, let's stop after this sentence. Can you break it apart? What are the separate ideas? Then, highlight the pronouns, circle he, his, she, they. Now draw arrows from each pronoun to the noun it refers to. Here you can see an example on your screen. You can model this with the first complex sentence, then have students do it. After supported reading with pausing and discussing, send children to finish the reading with a partner or independently. They should continue pausing at complex sentences and checking pronouns. Now it's your time to pause and think. Think of a text your students will read within the next week or 2. What complex sentences might trip them up? Take a moment to plan for this now or at the end of the video with the remaining time of our session. Let's move to our final section. Our final section is Prove It, understanding how to monitor student progress and adjust instruction. So during this process, you might be asking yourself, how do you know when to increase the rigor? Well, starting here, here's a progression. You'll start with 2 clauses with simple connectives like and because. Those are the most straightforward to combine and deconstruct. After that, begin to increase the rigor. Sentences with 3 clauses, perhaps with temporal connectives like before and after. These are trickier because they involve time relationships in order of events. Then continue increasing with relative pronouns like who, which, and that. These create embedded clauses and are the most complex. The key recommendation: teach complex syntactic structures before they come up in content area texts. This is pre-teaching at its best. How do you do this? Well, you need to preview the text students will read in the next 1 to 2 weeks. You'll identify complex sentences, pull them out, and practice them in small groups before students encounter them in the full text. This will dramatically improve their comprehension when they read the actual text. Look at your upcoming text now. What structures do you see? So, now that you've started teaching, you might be wondering, how do I know if students are making progress? Here's some simple indicators to watch for during small group instruction. First of all, can students correctly identify who or what the pronoun refers to? If not, use the highlighting and drawing arrows between pronouns and nouns. Can students explain the relationship between clauses? If not, focus explicitly on teaching connectives and their meanings. Can students break complex sentences into simple clauses? If not, model and practice sentence deconstruction more. Can students combine simple sentences using appropriate connectives? If not, provide sentence frames and explicit conjunction instruction. During independent reading, some look-fors are students pausing at those complex sentences? That's a good sign. It means they're monitoring. Are students rereading complex sentences? This is also good. This means they're self-correcting. Are there correct comprehension in their responses about complex sentences? Are students beginning to use complex sentences in their writing? Use these observations to adjust your instruction and provide targeted support. So with the rest of our time left, let's wrap up the action items for this week. First off, preview a student's text they will read in the next 1 to 2 weeks. Take 10 minutes to really look at it. Go ahead and identify complex sentences to use for practice. Look for sentences with multiple clauses, connectives, or referential pronouns. Go ahead and plan one 15-minute small group session using the routine we used today, the review, teach, practice, apply. And try and reflect on students' responses. What worked? What was challenging? What will you adjust? Remember, understanding sentence-level syntax is just as important as vocabulary for reading comprehension. Explicit instruction in building and deconstructing sentences supports all students, not just struggling readers, but all students benefit from this instruction. Let's help our students navigate complex text with confidence. You have everything you need to start using this routine tomorrow. Thank you for your time today. Please complete the session feedback Google form linked on the screen. You will complete the same feedback for each time you finish a section. At the end of the day, you will complete a separate district attendance form.